Here are 10 things I dislike about Record of Ragnarok as someone who ranks the manga within my top 10 of all time. Number 1. There's too many Greek gods. Did they really need Zeus, Poseidon, Hades, Hercules, and Apollo participating on the god side? And even added Prometheus in the official prequel canon side manga to get one shot by Sun Wukong. Connecting to my second reason, the lack of other pantheons. A very common critique from many people who get into Record of Ragnarok and are fans of various aspects of mythology. Something I will say is somewhat being rectified with the Apocalypse of the Gods manga having much more wide range and diverse pantheons introduced, just hopefully they deliver with the lore about many of them. This also connects to my third reason, Anubis has been saved too long. As the sole Egyptian god fighting in the main series, you would think he would not be the 13th fighter or the final god on the original roster to participate, particularly when he was introduced right after round 9 concluded, being officially recognized as the fighter to go out in round 10, getting done dirty now 3 times in a row, alongside what happened to Ra in the side manga, highlighting that the Egyptian pantheon has been done insanely dirty. Now number 4, I would say there's not enough wild powers considering the premise of the series, literally gods fighting powered up humans amped by Valkyries, something that could have resulted in much more impressive destructive showings, or there's more impressive abilities, particularly for gods like Poseidon and Hades. I think when it comes to their powers in Record of Ragnarok, the authors missed by quite a bit and they could have done much more wild things, particularly with Hades coming after Poseidon, having a slightly different fighting style that doesn't make him too different at the end of the day. Alongside the magic aspect I've talked about in other videos, which may be getting fixed up in Odin's current fight against Kentoki during this scene, with his potential to really do anything. However, ability wise, there could have been more wild stuff from many of the other gods in the prior rounds, not waiting until near the end of the series. Now reason 5 is the end of Okita vs Susanoo, the 10th round in the Record of Ragnarok tournament. Let me explain. We have Susanoo's divine weapon destroyed in the battle. As such, he pulls out the ultimate form he has been able to achieve, the invisible blade or swordless style, something he once again saw from humanity. However, the moment a human reaches it, this is also the end of their life. As such, the technique would fade away, no human would fully learn it, and to achieve it, it requires surpassing the human limit, something a god should be capable of. However, when unleashing it, his body begins to crack, highlighting that even for a god, this technique is beyond limits, even though humans can technically unleash one attack before they're no more, something I have a slight issue with when it comes to Susanoo himself, alongside his endless glaze of Okita throughout the entire round. I don't think the fight itself is bad and would probably rank it around the middle range when it comes to all of the Record of Ragnarok fights. It's just the ending here that I have a major issue with. We see Susanoo once again take the stance and unleash a direct invisible swing that lands on Okita with him being unable to block, coughing up blood, and is seemingly defeated, beginning to fall in the ground, acknowledging that the gods are strong, that he can't move his body anymore, and he gave this fight everything he had, there's nothing left, being convinced that he's going to die. However, the shouting from the fellow Shinsengumi had somehow given Okita enough power to go for one last attack, and as a response, Susanoo begins to unleash one more invisible slash while being pierced by Okita, where we see his entire body shatter. This all-powerful god was unable to unleash one more attack and face defeat in round 10 against Okita Tsuji, but we see that Okita is pretty much dead at this point. He had technically claimed victory in the round, but had nothing left and was going to die, where we have the fellow Shinsengumi running to his rescue and noting that he's no longer breathing, where the primordial god of the Japanese pantheon, or supreme god of the Japanese pantheon, Izanagi, pulls up and actually heals him, saving Okita Tsuji's life, which does result in the inner demon to be no more after this fight, and Okita likely never being capable of fighting again, but he lives. Which brings me to reason number 6. This primordial Japanese god Izanagi himself. So outside of him saving Okita here, he was shown to be one of the surviving primordial gods that successfully sealed the Yggdrasil, meaning the original Odin, which connects to current Odin and his plan to destroy humanity and of course all the gods as well, meaning when it comes to the current day Record of Ragnarok story, Izanagi is the only shown primordial god around and should be the only one fully aware of that situation, where bro isn't saying anything. Then it gets even more strange. Throughout the recent flashbacks around Odin and the people of Golnir, we see Izanagi once again being part of the primordial god group that sealed the Yggdrasil and being one of the survivors as well. Then out of nowhere, when we see these survivors and their plans of what to do with the passing down of history, Izanagi mysteriously disappears, and now in a recent chapter we were told that these three are the only surviving primordial gods after eons have passed since that point. Something we know is not true considering Izanagi is still around in the current story. Very strange stuff, and I do hope it's addressed somehow in the future, but as it currently stands, it is a big plot hole that I have an issue with. Number 7 is this waiting too long for Nostradamus to fight. It was introduced in chapter 55 of the manga, or episode 1 of Record of Ragnarok season 3, and now with us being at 115 plus chapters, he still hasn't had his turn, so more than half of the manga's span of chapters we've been waiting. Likewise with reason number 8, I'm still getting milked dry about Rasputin. He's one of the key reasons when I first read Record of Ragnarok that I got into the series, him being part of this tournament, and we still haven't had Bro's design revealed after all these years. Crazy stuff. Number 9 is Zero Fuku and the Lucky Gods. When it comes to a first time reading or watching experience, Buddha vs Zero Fuku and Hajun is one of the best fights in the series, but it doesn't hold up as much as others when it comes to rereads, and that is 100% due to Zero Fuku and Bishamonten, the leader of the Lucky Gods. I don't even believe they should have been on the roster representing the gods, particularly with what we've learned in Apocalypse of the Gods, with all these other characters who would have been much better replacements, with him just being a lackluster character and role in the story being very limited, all things considered. And number 10 is, please just name these primordial gods. At this point, since how much flashbacks we've gotten around them, they need to have names. They are very important, particularly with Odin and his rise to being the main villain of the entire series and that whole situation. We love talking about mythology, just give them names that connect to various pantheons. This guy without a doubt looks Egyptian, or they can just make up names for all I care like they did for Adamas. But here are my 10 reasons. Drop yours in the comments and watch all these other Record of Ragnarok videos right now.